Hello, everyone, and good evening. Monday night, it's hockey night, and it's Chasing the Puck Live, episode 8. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday. Hope you had a really good weekend at the hockey. Hopefully, your team won, got lots of goals and lots of excitement and whatnot. And I've just realised that there is a teddy bear in the way. Let's move that. But we have got a Clangers. So, bit of Clan, bit of Steelers. Just like a normal week at the hockey weekend, but no, hope everyone is okay and enjoying themselves. So, as always, don't forget to hit in the chat any questions, any queries, anything that you want to throw at us. I'm Stephen Turton, I'm your host again for this episode. And don't forget to like and subscribe on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify now, and YouTube. Just seem to get everywhere. So obviously do apologise if you've got none of those. At this rate, we're going to start a newspaper, but all good fun. So as we did last week, I think it's only fair that we really start things are rolling with the first game that we missed. So we go from Monday, Tuesday, we go to Wednesday. So Neil, good evening. Hope you got back after the storm in the grand city of Nottingham. Hope you had a lovely time in the city, obviously not at the resort, but we'll come to that later. So let's go. First things first, Wednesday, Champions League hockey. It's those Sheffield Steelers again. I mean, given the draw that they had and people's perceptions of what they believe was going to happen. I mean, you look at Panthers, you look at Belfast, the years they've had and how close it's been. Obviously, new system with the Champions League hockey, the way that the draws worked out and the games that are played. But I think people just obviously have to take a moment of consideration there more than anything to obviously take in how well the Steelers have done. I mean, it's not an easy feat. I mean, Neil's on the chat and he's been to plenty the last couple of years, Champions Hockey League games, and he's probably seen Belfast play the top tier teams and battled hardened teams night after night. And you look at that Giants team that played in those games, how much of a challenge it must have been for them. So to see Steelers that they've done it in such a way where, there's only one game that they didn't get a point. Admittedly, it was the one game that Karina didn't let me have the stream for. So I'm going to blame Karina that they didn't get a point in that game because obviously I keep 100% batting record with Steelers at the moment. Every game I go to, they seem to win. So don't let me in the building or any other building. Is that right? But great atmosphere. It was really good because obviously we get there. So many permutations. Got to give a big shout out to JJ Fernley to work out all the permutations and put them on social media and put them out there. Being in a situation where, I'll be honest with you, I did not know in the first instance how that would turn out, not where to look and see, obviously, those little bits of data and analysis that you could kind of do. So to go in the night before Tuesday, the way the fixtures went and seeing that on social media, how people were like, okay, these results are not what we needed, and getting angry in bits and pieces because people didn't get the results they wanted to get. To go in and I'll be honest, where I was standing at the time, I just got a message from Karina saying, we're through, we've done it. And it was a fascinating thing before the game to happen. I ran into a few people, really kind and courteous people in Sheffield that do come up and say hi to me and point and ask who I am and everything. It's actually really nice and grandiose, but they do it when Karina's not around. So if you do ask, if you're listening to this, can you ask when Karina's there? Because she thinks I'm imagining things and people don't actually talk to me. And I just imagine talking to people, apparently. But to see that, I spoke to Faith, I spoke to a couple of people, Enya was there as well. And it was weird because you go into that game, you've got a game to play, the lineup's been decided, you can't chop and change at last minute. It's all about positioning and everything like that. But the reason I had to ask if it was legit is that nothing was said on social media. There was nothing by the league. There was nothing by the team. There was nothing by the Champions Hockey League, which just made me laugh because you looked at it, there was no it was no carnival atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere. Don't get me wrong, the noise, and no one told Simsy up top while he was doing the announcing. Maybe he knew and he thought, let's keep it stum, or generally people didn't actually tell him. But we're going through the game, going through it, and you're just thinking, maybe someone's got it wrong. Maybe this isn't quite, the point needs to go. Something might have chopped and changed that you didn't know about. And as the game progressed, it's another really good performance by Sheffield. They're going against these teams where they've not looked out of place. It's not been men versus boys. It's not been a complex situation where they've just been there thinking, why are we there? It's great net minding, it's great defensive play. Offensively, teams are scoring, teams are hitting hits, and just everything's just kind of clicking. And we'll go on to the league and the cup form. That is obviously an area that people wanted me to discuss, which is absolutely fine. But a game, Usler getting a goal, Baumas getting his two, goal scorers, and this is probably the thing really, is that Sheffield's goal scoring situation, they've had Usler, the Antolainen, Valorant, Dowd. And I've said this, a lot of teams have people that you can just pick out that cometh the hour, cometh the man, that someone must score. It's not this situation where I think a lot of people said about Sam Herr being that person that he's going to be the saviour for the Panthers, he's the only one who's going to score. But actually, no, that's not how it's meant to be. Same with Conway, everyone, Conway, JJ. There's just teams that you look at certain players and you think they're going to be the catalyst. But with Steelers, the way they've been in the Champions Hockey League, is goals have been coming anywhere. And, with Tansy with a rocket as well, just joins in the party when he wants to as well. And Cormier, great little bit of fun. But for Steelers, jovialous atmosphere after the game. The fans really, obviously, once again in high numbers at the Utilita. I think that's something that's just came out in the last half an hour or so, is that 50% tickets for the last 16 have already been sold. Obviously, I know that people are not happy the way that that's been produced out, with the fact that season ticket holders couldn't get their seats first. And I've just been scrolling through social media at the time, just to gauge what people are thinking. And there's people just there going, someone's in my seat, how dare they? I'm just going to stare at them and give them evils the entire night. I'm just going to, throw stuff at them because I'm near my seat and they're in my seat. You've got a seat. And that's the thing, is that there's been a lot of times that I've always said that the only time that I would ever worry about getting a seat in either Sheffield or Nottingham would be around Christmas, because there's a lot of family. I mean, looking at it today, Steelers have actually posted that there's 2,300 tickets left for Boxing Day against Panthers. And that other games, there's a situation, this weekend, great, Panthers have done the family tickets as well. But it's a tough one where a lot of the times seeing sellouts, I mean, Cardiff have kind of done it the last couple of weeks with their hellouts. And then the last minutes when people return their tickets, just, like 30, less than 50 tickets that they just need to sell back. And, Clan have done it as well. I know there's a lot of talk about Fife, the way that they've done things as well with their ticketing. But it's actually a really good time in UK hockey. And this is the thing that I know a lot of people have said it after the game. Why are teams congratulating Sheffield on making it around the last 16? They should be enemies, competition, everything like that. But the bigger picture is that the more eyes that are on the prize in UK hockey is something that you've got to look at, that will bring better players, better content, better viewership, really. Because I think, the IAHF today, it was yesterday actually, I think that they posted about, the recap of, Steelers and the rest of the Champions Hockey League. And they were just, saying that, people kind of look at, I mean, apologies to any ginger people, but they see the UK Hockey Elite League as the ginger-haired stepchild, that you just look at and think, they're doing the sport, they're doing their own little thing. Good job, little buddy, just over in the corner. But now you're kind of in that position where players are starting to look at this league and thinking I can make myself into a career. And a lot of the time, I mean, if you look at the National League and the Elite League, there's a lot more 2-year deals, longer year deals of trying to keep people within the confines of the league. It's not this situation of, I really like that player. He's going to be here 3-4 months, and then he's just going to swanny off back to the States or Canada or into Europe to the higher tier leagues. Is you're actually keeping this continuity and this skill set that's coming through, and with the talent that UK hockey's doing. I mean, you go and you look at Leeds with Kieran Brown, Finn as well, absolutely brilliant. I was seeing at the Steel Dogs as well. We were there Sunday, seeing what Solway have to offer, and the Steel Dogs as well. There is a lot of talent bubbling at the surface, and a lot of people want them to have their opportunities because some teams like to have a Brits on a two-way, having a Brits within it, or some teams don't have any Brits at all. I'm not naming any teams, but you're kind of in that situation that a lot of people want to use those Brits. And now that the new system about having 20 games on a two-way with certain players that you can bring in the feeder system is absolutely perfect. And it's given these players a chance to develop. And for the CHL, I mean, Sam Tremblay getting an opportunity again and not being out of place. And, the old adage, if you want to win, sign a Finn. I mean, they signed Finlay Urick. And I know I stole that from Faye. So that's absolutely fine. She won't judge me for that. But it's, these players are getting this opportunity, 4-line hockey, playing Champions League hockey, getting a shootout win, and then the piece de la resistance of it. If you ever write a script of what you wanted to happen, the next thing that happened was them getting Berlin. Is I said before the game, Greener can vouch for that I actually said, wouldn't it be funny if they got Berlin the next round? And she said, no, it's never going to happen and anything like that. And I was right. Liam Kirk's Berlin is coming. Well, obviously going to Berlin first, but coming Sheffield. I mean, it writes itself from this kind of prodigal son from Maltby, the career that he's had so far and the development and the personal relationships he's got within the club, the community, and of course the special history that he has it there would be a really homecoming. I mean, we said this last week about players coming back and being booed out of the building and being former players. And I just feel like that's going to be such a feel-good factor. I mean, admittedly, he can tell the coach where they need to go traffic-wise. Probably saves the club hotel money because he doesn't need a room for the night, because I'm sure he's probably got somewhere that he can kip overnight. But I think it's going to be a really good game. They've got to this stage on their own merit. I know a lot of Panthers fans like that little, we're the only team that got into the last 16. And I know that rhymed. So I do apologise. That was completely unintentional. But it's good. I know a lot of people have kind of made the comments in the past about where do I align? Well, at this moment in time, it's UK hockey. And the better that the team does, and I don't care if it's Coventry, I don't care if it's Fife, I don't care if it's Clan. If they get through and get to a semi or a quarter final in the Champions Hockey League, or they win the Conti Cup, absolutely perfect. If Cardiff win it, really tough group. I know that's obviously been posted the last couple of days. Is you want to see teams doing well. And there's no bitterness as far as I'm concerned with which team that might be and who it might be. So, really great job. Big attendance, loud noise. I mean, what can you really expect from it? It was a 7 o'clock face-off, a lot of distance for people getting from work and trying to get there. But the fact is, it was a loud night. It's a great night, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. And, congratulations to Sheffield Steelers to getting themselves into the last 16. I'm probably sure that there'll be a few more congratulatory things towards the Steelers for this weekend coming up shortly. But I think it's only fair to obviously go out the CHL. Just having a look at that. Tickets being £13 helped. Absolutely agree. Ticket pricing has been absolutely perfect. And of course, this Wednesday against Dundee, it's one of the £8 ticket games. one thing that I'm a big advocate for is that, making it affordable and accessible from as many people as they can. Of course, being in a situation where you want the biggest attendance that you can, and I know a lot of people have kind of brought it to the forefront, is that if there's a feeling that it's not going to be well attended because of price points, or the game doesn't look as glamorous to try and get there, or try and give tickets to schools or anything, or just trying to get people more involved to it, it's a tough one. And I don't know the ins and outs of the financial cost implications of running the rinks, the staffing, the food, and everything like that. Can they bring a situation for a bigger rink or a smaller rink to make it cost effective? I don't know the answer. But we love seeing full rinks. We love people talking about hockey and being able to experience it live and in person. So if you can, great. If you want to send any videos or any photos, absolutely fine. But enjoy the hockey that you can. Absolutely brilliant. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't any other games on Wednesday, of course. So I do apologise if there is anyone from the Glasgow Clan persuasion that is on the chat or watching right now, is we have to talk about Wednesday against the Coventry Blaze. And I know, been saying this the last couple of weeks, I am thankful that I did not do a league prediction of which teams you think is going to finish in the top 10, because I think a lot of people are eating a lot of humble pie right now, because as Kevin Moore said on Saturday, the Goonies never. It's absolutely brilliant. They've been really, really good. And to go 6-0 against Clan on Kid Takeover night. I mean, I won't lie, I didn't realise it was Kid Takeover night when I did the bingo card and was getting everything ready. Is completely passed me by, because, I mean, does anyone want to see kids crying when their team's getting shut out at home, losing 6-0 to Coventry Blaze? No, the answer is no. But, credit where credit's due. Coventry Blaze performed really, really well in that game. And it's one of those things that you've been watching them. They've been scoring, Matt Robinson standing on his head. Of course, there's going to be a bit of a conversation about Saturday, the way that they perform. But looking at Wednesday and the performances that they've had, first period, 0-0, get 2, get 4 in the third. Clan, to be fair, they put in Lucas Bryan, and having that rotation, he'll go with Lennon Bow being in there as well. I think, you've got to take a lot of credit for Corey to do that, bringing a player in and playing him. There's some teams that will just have them as some kind of bench warmer and not having the opportunity to do it. So to actually see them using that rotation to the best of their abilities is absolutely really nice to see. But Blaze, really great performance. Clan, they'll probably want a couple of those ones back. I think the worst thing that took it out of them being, kids take overnight. You wanting people to go through, kids to see a victory, see a little bit of action, a little bit of razzmatazz and shenanigans, to be top tier, enjoyable. And, if the team gets a win, it's a lot easier to sell that point there to get people to come back, see Clangers, of course, and get into that atmosphere. And that's where it all starts, Kids going to these games, you envy them because they don't have Twitter. They don't have the ins and outs of people arguing about GoFundMe pages or what team should have got a flight and what team shouldn't have got a flight. I mean, I don't think it was like Home Alone 2 where Coventry Blaze was running one way and Belfast Giants were running the other way, and it was the first one gets to the plane. I mean, admittedly, Belfast have enough players that they could have played in Coventry as well. And, two teams just do it that way. But it's tough. Teams come in. There's a lot of, people have the jokes about the clan-based meltdowns. And the consistency of Clan, I mean, where they were last season to where they are now, makes sense with the Airbus. Still need to talk about planes because obviously I don't know. I do love the ones that have got the rudders and everything like that. The kind of old propellers. Aer Lingus, I think it is. Is it? Maybe. I don't know. Okay. That makes sense. Obviously with the storm and everything. If you're not aware, everyone, there was a storm over the weekend, and, credit to Belfast to get in there, and the fans that made the journey, how windy and how wet it was to get the games going ahead. And obviously Coventry were unable to get back for their game against the Devils. But back to Wednesday, keeping on there, 6-0 defeat, 5 past post, shut out. One thing, obviously, that people are probably aware of is that Mitchell Hurd was putting himself in a position where the video's out there, of course. We posted it. Very kindly, a couple of people sent it in where he, gets in a little bit of a heated battle after the buzzer. With the goalkeepers nearby, he's having a little bit of a scuffle, and then one of the Coventry players come in, and he just, an unwilling combatant comes in, gets hit with a ban. Won't lie, I thought, obviously this weekend him being back would have probably been good, but that's the thing is that this sucker punch side of situation, unwilling combatant, it's been quite tough with the way that it's been with DOPS, because I know, don't get me wrong, that they are cutting down on the videos that they're doing, where it is, 3 games, they do a video, and they'll do the documentation, so you obviously can read about it, why they've done it, but they've decided, not to do it every single time. And that kind of opens up the world of interpretation. So you'll have different videos, of course, for us, we get the videos from the highlight package. So that kind of puts the pressure on the different angles. Do you put 3 angles in? Do you put 1 angle in? Does someone really slow it down, really put it fast down? Does someone put Boniam Rasputin included into the video? Some people do, some people don't, of course. But then that's the thing, is that people either do it through hearsay, have grainy footage of on the day, or taking it from the stream with the commentary, where you can look at in hindsight. Having the videos that they did, it gave time for the explanation, the pointed information from the paragraphs that you could kind of read upon. But then the level of consistency is that, I know that, Dallas Out gets it, Lauren Ulet as well from Storm, the bands, Ciampini, and of course now Mitchell Hurd. So everyone's kind of looking at these little snapshots of what bands were coming through and kind of assessing them. So side-by-side analysis with, the videos that they used to have, depending on what it was, if it was a 1 game, 2 game, 3 game, severity, repeat offender, unsportsmanlike behaviour, the fines and everything all in together in one big package, is that everyone wants to know, you look at football, that, everything's kind of highlight packages. There's probably 3 or 4. There's so many different accessible channels where you can look at the kind of banning situation and see exactly where people are doing things. And then it's word of mouth. It's people not knowing exactly what's happening, people not catching the stream, not seeing it on big screens, and it being slowed down. So I'm an advocate of having those videos. I think for people to know exactly what's happening and what's going on, because when there's a ruckus and when there's all coming together, some people might see it, some people might not see it. And then there's that bit in between where hearsay kind of becomes in, especially on social media, where they'll go, did you see the player? I mean, I think the best example is the Tetlow situation from Sunday. I did not see the video straight away. I heard, a lot of people say, the game's won. Why are you taking a 5+ game for something like that? I hope Osterberg is okay. And you kind of, that's things without any footage, without me not being at the game, I don't 100% know exactly what's going on. So I'm kind of trying to pinpoint like a jigsaw exactly what's happening, what the behavior is and what it kind of is, because I get it. Sometimes I work within the realms of posting something out that is funny or kind of can be thought-provoking or downright, fishing, of course. But when it's circumstances, when it comes to injuries or severity of something bad happening, is that you want to keep away with that for the 20-foot barge pole. And so that's why I'm very, mindful, not knowing the full ins and outs, and then finally seeing the videos and everything like that. Firstly, obviously, Osterberg, hope he's okay. But you're kind of in a position there where I want to see more videos, more in-depth information, but I get it. If they've made a vote and they decided that they only want to do it for the most severest of penalties and not putting everything out there, because the way that everything's gone in the last couple of weeks, from a point of view, they'll just need someone constantly doing videos every 5 seconds. If there's a ban here or there or anything like that between here and the National League. But people want to see it. People just want to know these things and kind of discuss it and have a forum to, because that's the thing, is that you put a post on there with the video. I think that one of the good example is Riley Brandt's over the weekend. He gets the game for it. Someone posted the video from the laptop. I think Dave that did it, credit to him to posting that out. And then you just see a lot of it just being retweeted with, this is not, this is this, how can this be this? How can this be that? How do the officials say that? How can they perceive it? I'm a Thingy fan and I thought it was okay. I'm a Thingy fan and I thought he should be tried. And it is, it's very tough. I would not, it's very easy. I've said this for the longest time, that I will always work in the court of public opinion of people. If people think it's the right decision, that's their prerogative. If people think it's the wrong decision, that's their prerogative. If there's the grey area that people don't want to commit, absolutely fine. Is tough. That's the same for an official, because they've got to look at how this is going to be perceived with, what footage they've got, making a split decision. And, I've got to credit the league for actually posting on the website, not on social media. I didn't see it was actually retweeted or anything like that, is where they actually put in place saying that the video review was used, not this week, but last week, where it shouldn't have been. And that's what you want to actually see. You actually want to see them put them, good or bad, putting it out there, that we know that these things are done. And we're still so early in the season now. We're coming up to the end of October. Okay, we've had a couple of months now. Challenge Cup's still going. League's in its infancy. We're in a position now where, we just want to see the best hockey, the best people. Teams are all settled in place. The right people in. No injuries. Form's good. A little bit of fights, a little bit of drama, and keep it going. But Clan to them goes into a position there 6-0. So, of course, playing on Wednesday, Dan, perfect timing, good evening, is that they travel to Altrincham. They travel to the Storm Shelter on Friday night against Manchester Storm. So very lucky early in the week. Spoke to Jake Derflinger. He sat down and had a chat with us on it's now on Spotify, but on here as well. So if you've not watched it already, highly recommend it. Really good guy. Good conversations, good hockey chat the day before he's playing against Clan. And it's one of those games, I never thought about it, about the Olympic-sized rinks and the comparison between the big rinks and the Storm Shelter is that, people go in and, as a fan, you're looking at the sightlines. You're looking how cold it is, the queue for the loo, and all the bits in between and waiting for Lightning Jack to just turn around and just do something, and you fear for it because he's going to do something bad. It's always bad. But you go. But from a player point of view, I never realised the thought process that it would go to having a rink to that sizing, that level, where they would have to, the decision making that they needed to make. And it interested me because I was just thinking about that. You practice in these big rinks where you've got enough time to take a couple of seconds thought process, time on the puck, moving it around. But when you go to Altrincham, when you go to the Storm Shelter, you haven't got that moment to just click and think that you'd normally have, and that adjustment. And when you said that you'd rather play, 40, big bulk games there and know that situation as opposed to 6 away games, for example, depending on the way the league is working this year. And him discussing that and just thinking it must be really tough because they get off the coach, they've got to train in the car park, probably lose the football a couple of times under somebody's car. And it's a tough place to go. And Storm, I mean, it's thing, but yeah, for them, they are looking at the sizing. Good evening, Anthony. Hope you're well. And that's the thing is that you look at that kind of rink compared to the others. I mean, I've been very fortunate with the rinks that I've gone to and seeing Sheffield on Sunday is seeing the sizing and that kind of intimate area where you're literally based on the plexi, a lot of moving around, and that feel of it. I think that's the thing is that you've kind of got the arena area where you can just jump and go into the concourse. I mean, all places have that, but kind of having it where you can watch the game and turn around. I mean, same with Milton Keynes. I love getting a coffee and I could just still kind of watch the game from where I was. Same with Leeds and doing it that way. And for Clan to go there, really good performance compared to what happened on Wednesday. And it's a tough one because it's 7-3. And don't take anything away from Storm. Herbert get a hat trick. The Triple H line, the WWE line, which I think is absolutely, if you're not selling into that, you've got to kind of work that one out there. Whoever, anyone from Storm, please, WWE, Triple H, DX, it's a hell of a line. Utilize it. But Storm, not the greatest of starts. Absolutely, way home. Very patchy, very indifferent, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But they're kind of clicking on, and credit where credit's due. Clan, yes, they've conceded so many that they did. You look at this weekend and Wednesday of how many times they've conceded. Yeah, they get the 3 goals, fighting back. But it's the performances, considering where Clan were last season to where they are now, and they've got Corey, which is, Cade's now gone to America as well. But the recruitment that they've got, I would be hard pressed to say that, people are saying, do they need to make some chopping and some changing? Do they need to galvanize it? Do they need to do something within the group? I mean, going on, obviously, I know we're doing normally Elite League. Obviously, being from Nottingham and following the Lions, having the conversation today about Zach Yokoyama, of his change going through, of trying to galvanize the team, considering how many points he got, 13 in 12 games, really great. But people are thinking, how do we make a change in the mindset, the business end of the team? Is that, do you remove someone out of the group and try and bring somebody in? It's a very tough one because what's out there in the market really that you can just bring in and utilize either in the UK or America or Canada? Because I remember a time that a lot of people that were available were either available for the wrong reasons, that form wasn't there, or behavioural issues. So this is why you could always collect someone in a November or December time, or they're coming back from injury and that. But for Clan on Friday to go from that, bit of an improvement, playing in tough rink, travelling wise, nice little break in between, and we'll go into their Saturday as well. But I think the onus really has to be on Manchester Storm, to turn. I wouldn't even say it was bad port of form, really. I think, it's kind of been there the last couple of weeks. Results might not have gone that way, but when they're firing and when they're hitting it, it's not a goon squad. They've recruited well. They're kind of, Mike Flanagan, absolutely brilliant what he's done. There was no reset panic buttons or anything like that. You kind of look at it and you think, why people were in the situation where they were just as angry as they are and calling for rapid changes. And of course, going back onto Telford as well, I was looking at the stats from the guys from the Polish League and the players that they've actually played with as well. If you can make changes like that, and it's someone's bringing you that deal and that too good to be true mentality of bringing these players in, we're at the time now where if people want to make the changes in National, in the Elite League, these players will not be around for long if you're not going to take the punt or take the opportunity. And of course, I know with Fife's injuries and everything like that, that they'll be looking around this market there of trying to find some players that they can bring in. It's a tough one, but if you can find the real deal and someone who's going to come in and just literally hit the ground running, hit the points, the assists, defensively, if it's a netminder as well, snap them up. Absolutely snap them up if you can. So we've done Wednesday, we've done Friday. Or have we? Because we haven't done Friday in the Elite League or the Challenge Cup. Because obviously, of course, Clan Storm was the league. Challenge Cup. Dundee Stars versus Five Flyers in the Challenge Cup. Yeah. That one was tough reading, tough to watch after watching the highlights and everything. So Dundee, I had the opportunity to see them on Saturday. Really great, but we'll get into that. But 7-0 win against Five. Five for short benched, bus legs, everything. They're creating chances. They're actually putting a lot of shots on the board. But it's just that when it's not clicking, when it's not going in, and I remember having a conversation with Tim Wallace a few years ago about the hockey gods and puck luck, and that's one of the things that if it isn't going, if it isn't bouncing, there's one of the worst things is when you're having the shots and you're having the possession, you're winning the face-offs and everything seems to be going well, but you can have 3 shots, the puck can go the other end, and then that team just has 1 shot and it just goes in. And I know it's another, the 5-5 club that we've kind of obviously been on social media the last couple of weeks about teams that have scored 5 or more past 5. But when you look at that, this is the thing, is everyone will look at the 7-0 result as a snapshot of reality. But when you actually look at the stats, it's actually a strange one because you kind of think, how? You're not taking the shots, 58 shots to 53 shots. They outshot them on shots on goal, but they just got shut out. And that's, the efficiency of 0%, but, 16% that Dundee had, power plays in there, penalty kill, absolutely perfect. No one conceded on the power play. The saves that were kind of there, save percentage, 83.72 to lose 7-0 is that, the last couple of weeks, Shane Owen has been taking a lot of shots there. But I've always said this, that once there's a turnaround, something's going to happen sooner or later. Five's just going to find that kind of that click or that bounce. Something's going to happen that it's going to galvanize them and put them in a much better position. And I don't know if it's people through the door, if it's a scrappy win where the officials just call everything for their team and nothing happens there. It's just something's just going to happen where one team's going to come out the other end. I was having a conversation at the weekend about the Raiders, London Raiders back in the day, where they won 1 game all season, and it was like a really random night against the Panthers. 1 game that they did it, and the Capitals and everything, that people aren't expecting these big wins from these teams, but they kind of just had the performances to do it. I'm not saying it's on par with that, because I know that a lot of people kind of made that comment. Are the Flyers the new Edinburgh Capitals on social media the last couple of days? I've said I've got a lot of time for Tom Cullen. The team, the players that are there on paper can make a difference. Just need injuries to be a lot better. And then just something to happen, just a couple of power plays. I think, there's going to be a situation where a team's going to go there that people are going to make the assumption that it's just going to be points in the bag, easy win. And they're just going to scrape one. I mean, not the same, obviously, with the run after Christmas and beating the road blokes, the Sheffield Steelers last year. But to that level, something's just going to click. Something's going to happen and put them in a position where it's going to win. Could it be this weekend? Who knows? Obviously, just have to wait and see. But there's probably a lot of talking points this weekend and this week to put right within the roster. So we go. We've done Friday. So Saturday. So Saturday was the day that I went to Nottingham. So got an opportunity to watch the Panthers versus Dundee Stars. I think it's a strange one because I think a lot of people kind of put it in that mindset. If you're going to pick a game over the weekend, I mean, admittedly, they did have the family pass weekend where you could go and watch both games. Perfect. Very rare to have a double header in Nottingham. So, if the more that they can do that is absolutely perfect. Is it's really terrible for me to say it, and obviously anyone who is a Dundee Stars fan that is listening or listens to it later, I can only apologise and say that if you put money on which the 2 points that Panthers were going to get over the weekend, I think a lot of people would have put it down as a win against Dundee and then a battering against against the Giants, and that's really unfair. You know, apart from the 2 quick fire goals that Panthers scored in 8 seconds, the things that you can do in 8 seconds. Obviously, pop in the chat if you can think of anything that takes longer than 8 seconds, or don't say anything rude because obviously I don't know what the rulings are of that and the guidelines. But credit where credit's due. Stars just outfought them, outpaced them, and every turn, every unforced error that Stars did, they just seemed everywhere. They didn't take stupid, silly penalties. They just were at them the entire evening. And the confidence of taking a 7-goal win at home and then coming next night to Nottingham is leaps and bounds. I mean, Stars, the consistency from earlier in the season, Mark Lefebvre calling horseshit after the not the pre-season, but the post-game interview, where that team's now come without throwing lots of new players on, making chops and changes, is that the form's kind of hit where the lines are rolling. They've hit it and they just don't look back. The shots that they had and the opportunities that they created throughout the entirety of the game was actually really, really impressive to see. And you can't knock them, having, people like Elmer Ben O'Connor, their talent. They have very good talent there. And, as soon as I saw, seeing that Ben O'Connor was in the team in warm-up, I was thinking he's going to score. And it's wonderful, these things that you can say in hindsight. But he did. Of course he did. He always does. But, really great performance for the Stars. Both days, really. You've got to look at that, 4-point weekend, goals that they amassed, the shooting chances, the lanes that they had, power play, penalty kill, absolutely perfect. So they can go into that and think, hit it on a high, go for next week as well, and forward momentum. That's the thing, is that a lot of teams, who has got that forward momentum? Consistency seems to be all over the place for a lot of teams. And that one team that can just make that little breakthrough and just keep the points rolling in and taking the game either, in regulation, taking it to overtime or taking it on a shootout. It's exciting to see because there is some games that you think are going to be bankers and then other games it's a flip of a coin. And at the moment, Stars this weekend have kind of flipped that coin to the best of their abilities. So let's have a look. It's probably nice to have a little bit of a Devils kind of feel now, because obviously the other teams we've kind of mentioned in passing, and these two guys haven't really been mentioned, but really good game on Saturday against the Storm. Storm take on the high against the Clan on Friday night. Come to Cardiff, and this is probably one of the games really, very close, 3-2, where I've been very impressed with these little battles. We always talk about these little mini rivalries and these positions now where you kind of watch these games and there's a lot of needle in it. I mean, obviously, I know what happened the last time these two faced off. Boy, it was really good high intensity. I've been very impressed with the Devils that they've been going about it this season. Is, that they're scoring, they're not conceding too many. I know, obviously, Kruth being back, or close to coming back, Riley Brandt being back as well. And then, obviously, we mentioned it earlier, not for very long, given the circumstances, but there is a really good pattern of play in that team now, and Pete Russell seems to have got the players that he wanted to, got a really tough Conti Cup coming up as well. Really tough games to play, but these two, when they face off together, seem to be the perfect tonic for Elite League games being very close. The hits are there, and they have a battle. Two minds that are really working well together and kind of processing it. One thing, obviously, you can kind of see the difference. Pete Russell being there as well, but one thing, obviously, saying about Ewan King with the goaltending coaching, but obviously Matthew Myers as well, being in the background, learning his trade, and being a coach, starting knowing the in-game experiences of being, pretty much under some top coaches in this country. And this is what you want to see. Might be great going to see the 7-0 Dundee Stars game versus Fife. Obviously, wasn't there. You can enjoy those type of games, but that edge of your seat, that kind of thing, is who's going to win. Oh, I've got to get onto the coach as quickly as possible because the end of the game, but it might go to overtime and shootout. You don't want to miss a moment. You don't want to go to the bar and miss something. That's that kind of game, that kind of tonic that's there where everyone's enjoying it, having a great time. Really big full house. And to be fair, Storm took a hell of a contingent as well of fans. I hope they had a really great time and, the noise that they were making, because a couple of people did send over the videos and whatnot of how the game was going on and the atmosphere, and it's things that you love to see. You don't want it to be a library. You don't want it to be, a game that goes, without incident, of course, but you want to be in a position where you can thoroughly enjoy it and then just think you've gone to a barn burner at a hockey game. And then thing is, when you're traveling back those couple of hours, you, be it if you're a home fan, on the bus, taxi, bus, whatever, you're really bigged up and enjoying the situation. On the coach, hopefully it wasn't too bad and too down that, 3-2, really close hockey game, and put a good account of themselves. So going on, continue with Saturday. Belfast versus Coventry. So this is another one that you're not watching at the time. You're kind of at another game and you're kind of looking at the scores and you're trying to see what's happening. Is that you kind of see that really good first period, 2-1. Reverse it to 1-2. To make it 4-4, but then that third period, it's weird. I'd love to know exactly. I said this, that Belfast have gone very top heavy. Cassetti, this last couple of days, being announced being injured, looks like he's going to be injured for a wee bit anyway. It's strange because you look at the mindset of that team that they brought in. The players that they've got back, the talent that they brought in, the newbies are meshing together, and you've seen all the videos of them going to the Game of Thrones tours and being together. And you did say about having 3 lines about scoring, so that's true. That is a good point. Is, if you were going to look at it as like the dream team of what you could put together, Belfast is pretty much, bar a couple of people here and there, is that you'd be happy. If that was like a draft, for example, throwing it in and you threw these names together, goalkeeping, defensively and offensively, you'd actually be like, I'm really happy with that. And, I can do a lot with it. I don't know if it's mindset, if it's a hangover from last season, but there isn't that many bodies in the building from that last year to kind of get that feeling back. Attendances have been great. Not seeing many murmurings from the fan base, really. Maybe I'm not just looking at the right places. And then, obviously, that's a very good point, that if no one fears the Giants at the moment, I know View on a Bridge have just posted not too long ago about the enforcer role. Is that something that you'd like to see back? And, they've got the kind of perfect person on that bench that did it when he was a player. I still watch the videos of him as a player, and I'm just thinking I would not want to mess with that guy in Adam Keefe. And it's tough because, you've seen the videos on Sunday, you see the Bellin Lake stuff and, the fight back and just little hits there and stuff. I'm always for having an enforcer, someone there to just literally be in the back. Seeing it back in there, this year, Tansy seems like he's going to be there. There's a few bodies there. Last couple of years, Tusi was there as and done it for Panthers. Matthew Gannon as well. And you kind of get these players, Ruddy. And and then of course, yeah, Brandon Miles at Slough, and it's a very tough one because you bring in a body in that. I mean, I remember Matthew Gannon, people were saying, his defensive work wasn't there, but if push comes to shove, just throw him in front of someone and he'll just beat the hell out of him and he'll take the 5 minutes and then you'll be cool. And a lot of teams are very technical now, and that the fastest, slow, sleek Canadian European player that can just skate past one, skate past two. I mean, there's a few, Steel Dogs at the weekend where it was just like literally 1 second you're taking a recording, you just gone past three people and had a shot and scored. And I was just thinking, those are the kind of players that you want to protect, that you want to have in the league for the next couple of years. And having someone that can just be that kind of towering presence to be like, when there's a pushing and shoving after the whistle, and it's like, yeah, back off, stay off that guy. It is missed. Some people will give it a good tilt. Hockey Fights UK, to be fair, every single week, kind of get a video from here and there, less from the Elite League now. Admittedly, it's a lot from the other divisions as well that someone will just take a crack. But the problem is with the lower leagues and stuff like that, it's part-time work. They can't afford to take that time off. We've seen it where people have had injuries where they're not able to do their 9 to 5 job, and it's a very tough situation. And same with the Elite League players, of having an injury, of having a replacement going on the IR, of anything that happens to them, to try and get back into the team or to do something just from a fight. It's a very thin line now that you want those players to be protected. And I've always said, about the consistency about officiating. I remember speaking to people and saying that it wasn't it was always an issue that, depending on what night it was, what was allowed to let go. Is calls not being missed, but the inconsistencies. That was always the problem that a lot of people had, that a call could happen there on a Friday night, and then on a Saturday that would be good to go. There's no middle ground where it's been let go on that day and then it's there. It all depends on the officials, depending on how that call is going to be looked at. Or during the game where one person gets called for it and then the other person does it, it kind of creates this kind of animosity that slowly builds and slowly puts it into a dire situation where someone has to take law in their own hands. And obviously, as Karina says, they've got Dowdy. I mean, it seems like every year someone comes along from new in the league and wants to try it on with him, and he just comes back every single time and just, the kindest guy really that you kind of can speak to an interview. But when it comes to a hockey fight, all bets are off, and I wouldn't bet against him. Which kind of leads me into the last game on the Saturday, really, before we go to the penultimate one, which is Fife versus Guildford. And it is Sheffield. And it's very remiss for me not to start off this part of the proceedings with congratulations to Robert Dowd, all-time EIHL point scorer, all-time, biggest achievement, being part of Steelers to do it, and of course Belfast Giants. I've got to make sure that in impartiality that they're both mentioned as well. Surpassing a player as good as Colin Shields and the names on that list is quite amazing. That kind of consistency that's there, that probably everyone who's in this chat, whoever's listening to us right now, has seen at least one Dowdy goal that they can name off the top of their head that was top tier, one assist or something that's happened where he's been a stalwart in this league. And I think it's going to be a really sad time where he decides to hang up those boots. I mean, if he wants a season in Billingham, just, for old time's sake or anything like that, that'd be really cool. But, next couple of years, captain, GB captain, Steelers captain, to hit it on home ice and actually for it to be a goal, not, it's great getting an assist, but actually to get the goal in the game, to have that moment as a player and be, I mean, he was always going to get celebrated regardless, even if it was an assist or, if it was an away rink, depending on where it was, I think everyone would have applauded him, from home team to away team to fans from both sides. But to do it at home in a game that, after the CHL, that a lot of fanfare with how well that they played on Wednesday to do it against the Corey side. I mean, to be fair, Corey's probably sick of coming to Sheffield and losing with his kind of history that he's got there. But for them, Clan, not the greatest this weekend there. Great for Baumas to get his 100-point. Great for Dowd to get, obviously, all-time top scorer. But I think, obviously, really good thing that Steelers needed as well is getting that power play goal. Of course, that was on the bingo card this weekend to Steelers score a power play goal. I'm not saying that it was down to me that they got the power play goal because it was on the bingo card, but it's a coincidence. But anyway, really great performance by the Steelers, 6-3. Listening to the game and the way it went, from the second, period, third period, the way it kind of just broke down, the kind of decision making, how people were not happy with how the game was played and kind of speed at it and everything. There was a little bit of moaning and grumbling, but at the end of the day, if you're getting 2 points, you're there where you're thinking 2 points after a really great weekend. They've obviously CHL, they've done hot yoga. Now they've come back against the Clan game and obviously got a result, got 6 goals. Probably disappointed they conceded the 3, but they got a win. They got, obviously, the longer it took Downey to get those points, everyone was kind of on standby. Obviously, for it to happen, when's it going to happen? So to do it, home ice, absolutely perfect. Baumas, 100 points, fully deserved the way he played last season into this season. Clan, 0-point weekend, back to the drawing board. Some really good positives. Obviously, get the players back that are suspended, get the injuries back, see what they can do at the weekend. Obviously, they've got 5 on Saturday. I think that's probably one that a lot of people are looking at, is that, that might be the game for 5. That might be the game for Clan, where they kind of look at it and think, I mean, one of them's got to win. So we'll find out who it is next week. So the last game on the Saturday, Guildford versus Fife. Now, Guildford, it's not remiss of me that obviously waited so long covering the other teams. But, you've got to credit Guildford. A lot of people, they made the changes very early on, the ones to pull the trigger, push the button early, bringing new bodies into the room and making the necessary changes they needed to do. Admittedly, some were down to injury, some were down to form and just wanted to chop and change. They did it the previous season. And, credit where credit's due, it's kind of hit them quite well how they've done it. I mean, I know, again, another Fife game where the shots, look at the draw, puck luck, could have got them in a situation where on another night they could have actually won that game. And that's probably where it is. But to, score 4 at home, 9 times out of 10, you're probably looking at that would be a home win. But, players coming in for Guildford, Jack Combe has signed, done really well, settled in, brilliant. Fife struggled for the most part when it just came down to the little nitty-gritty bits. A lot of penalties that came through during the game. And it was a tough one where they just battled, and Flames just came and got the goals when they needed to. And that's the thing, is that momentum is a really tough one, because when you are doing it and you're playing a game for a full 16, you're going to have dribs and drabs. Everyone says, we didn't play a complete 60. There's going to be moments where you take a silly penalty, you're on a 5-on-3, and then you're under the cosh. You can't make your line changes. A lot of niggly bits and stuff going on. But for Flames just to go there, to get it, considering how well they've played, you think Flames are turning the corner. And that's where I honestly believe it, that they've recruited well before. I said this before, that I think they recruited really well. Great Brits that they brought in the building. Obviously, I know people are saying that they've got a hell of a lot of Giants players that have just come through the door as well. But offensive, defensively, and net minding, I think they've got some top talent. And I think that's a team that once it starts clicking again, that's where the points are starting to going to get drops, because everyone's going to look at those top 3. And I know people posting saying that, those top 3 losing is better. But this is where we want the gap to kind of dissipate, is that some teams will play the Scottish teams, drop points. Some teams will just win every single game against them. There's that middle tier where they play each other and then they just take points off each other. And then there's always that team that just kind of exceed expectations. At the moment, it's Blaze, where they're playing whoever they are, and it doesn't matter who they're playing. And I know that obviously people said on social media about that they did it against Giants, they did it against Steelers, then they were knocking on the door against Devils, and it was a lucky twist of fate that they missed the flight, because I think obviously a lot of people were thinking that Devils were going to go down against the Blaze. So Sunday, very quiet one, because obviously given the circumstances I've previously saying about Devils and Blaze being cancelled, that's obviously being reorganised for a new fixture. You know, fingers crossed that Blaze have been able to get back today, back home, and not too much disruption for them. But yeah, Panthers, you know, I said it. People would have probably took the money and said, well, Saturday night against Dundee was going to be the winner. But Panthers turned that on their head. And the only points that Belfast got was beating the Storm by flying over. Fortunately, they probably wished that the flight was cancelled the way that they played against Panthers. You know, 5-1. I think, you know, it's one of those games where, you know, I love playing against the Giants because I get to see the fan base. You know, that's one thing that I really enjoy, is speaking to the Giants fans and them coming over and the good crack at bunkers and everything every time they come over. Really enjoy that, but obviously you want to hear talk about the hockey. But really good Panthers performance. You know, it's very tough to play the way they did on Saturday, not have that too much time to look at the tape, not too much time to do work on fitness or ice time, to then hit a 4:00 face-off and then turn one performance from what they played on Saturday completely over on its head. And, you know, of course, another factor of that is how Belfast played. But actually, that's the thing, is that Panthers would have easily, a couple of seasons ago, that would have easily been a 4-point weekend, feeling sorry for themselves, and then be social media awash with meltdowns and anger. You know, Corey out, Gary Graham out, everyone out, Omar out. But this is the difference now. Panthers, that what they've done off the ice, on the ice, consistently, they just need to obviously look at that. But from a turnaround point of view, got to be happy the fact that they did it in such a way where they could kind of improve upon it and think, we've just done that. And then you do it, you look at it, and you think, wow, this is going to be another season. I still can't pinpoint exactly where they're going to finish and where they're going to end up. You know, people can say, you know, is it going to be trophies? Is it going to be, you know, into that top echelon field? And, you know, people are making suggestions of swapping Nielsen with Betteridge, changing up on the lines. You know, they're changing over Bernard and Rock over the weekend because Bernard played twice. There's probably little factors, little niggly bits that people are looking at and just trying to critique. But all in all, I think Panthers, you know, disappointed on the Saturday. But with the Sunday, I think they're in a really good position where they can kind of look at that going forward and think, okay, forward momentum, let's try and keep that up, especially with near the end of the month where they'll be going up against Steelers again at home and away, where they'll look to try and break the streak. And of course, last game of the weekend for the Sunday, Guildford versus Sheffield. And that's obviously a one, you know, with the changes, Ciampini being out, Watling being out, Greenfield starts again. And Michelli playing as well, Finn. A couple of guys from Steel Dogs making appearances as well. Really, really good. Positive for them. I mean, that's the thing is Guildford, you know, they play against Fife. Long travel, I get that. Coming back from a Saturday. Later face-off, of course, with being at Guildford at 6:00. But this is probably the toughest thing, is that, you know, you play Saturday, really great performance against Fife, but then coming against the Steelers side where, you know, high of Saturday, even higher from the Wednesday, and they wanted to get back on track. And I've always said that, you know, one game if someone says to me, which game do you want to go to, even if it's at Guildford or if it's Sheffield, the one that I kind of always want to do, keep one eye on, is Steelers versus Flames. I just feel like those two facing together, and I know Flame social media were kind of like it's a rematch of the Challenge Cup final. Of course, the rematch of the playoff semi-final. Didn't mention that. But when these two teams play, there's kind of a dislike for it. There's certain players that there's a little bit of needle. And it's thoroughly enjoyable. And I do love the McAdam versus Greenfield debate between the fans of Guildford and Sheffield. And, you know, it's a really good set of games. And credit again, Dowdy back on the score sheet as well. And you just think of it, you know, Matavaro is scoring, Levins is scoring, Baumas is scoring, and it's just these players that they've got really thoroughly enjoyable and a great game to watch. And you look at it and you just go, these are certain games that you want to enjoy and watch as often as you can. Because some games can kind of be quite very quick, out of the way. Not many penalties, game gone, game done. Is when there's a little bit of action in these games that I'm just saying that, you know, they turn on their head a little bit. And, you know, I didn't watch the Flames webcast. I know people on social media have their opinions about it from the camera and the commentary. So, you know, same with what they do with Storm quite a lot as well with the commentary. And it's really difficult. And you just think, you know, these are the games that you want to thoroughly enjoy. It's very remiss of me that I don't get a chance to go to Guildford as much as I would like to, because I think it's one of those rinks that, you know, you can enjoy. I can go for a swim before the game and just have a really good night watching hockey there. And, it, you know, I see from the plexi and everything, it looks like a really fun night. And these are the bits that you miss, is seeing different rinks, different opportunities to be around those areas and experience it. You know, it's all well and good, great being in these big arenas and watching the hockey with the big screens and everything, which kind of leads me to obviously the way it was with Solway versus Steel Dogs. Really great, no screens. You know, Sweet Caroline was there, Cotton Eye Joe, of course, all the favourites. But it was actually good to, you know, hear the chanting. You know, Solway with the megaphone, Steel Dogs without a megaphone, and the Zoom, the horn things. I don't know what they're fully called. I almost said Zumbas, but I'm sure they begin with Z. Anyway, is seeing those different levels of hockey. It's, you know, it's kind of really galvanized how fun it is to be at a hockey game and watching in the moment. You know, I know we do the videos and everything that we do, but it's actually really good to get down there. You know, everyone says about where's the streaming service, where's the highlights, where's everything like this. But one thing that I've probably found in the last couple of weeks, it's good to be in rinks again and good breathing, eating, drinking, and being around the fans again. Sometimes the results don't go their way. Admittedly, the rink tours are 100% at the moment, so we'll keep it that way. Fingers crossed this weekend. But all being well, that is me for a week. Unfortunately, my voice is starting to go. But it's been an absolute pleasure as always. We should be here next Monday. But of course, don't forget to like the video if you're watching it live. Like it if you've been watching it later on the day. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, MySpace, Bebo, Messenger, WhatsApp. I'm sure we're on all those things. We seem to be on everything at the moment. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you very much. Enjoy your hockey week. Obviously, throw us any messages, any DMs if you want anything in the week that you want us to talk about or cover. And all enjoy. I'll see you all later.